Hello and welcome to Briançon, France's highest city at 1,300 metres above sea level. Briançon lies at the confluence of the Durance and Guisan rivers and is home to 11,500 people who, on the whole, are a pretty sporty bunch. The city is legendary for being close to a vast amount of good climbing, hiking and skiing, but it's also a cultural centre of the surrounding region too. The streets of Briançon are narrow and the old buildings, fortifications and walls give the city centre an atmospheric feel, and if you find any spot here that enjoys a mountain view, it's likely to be a good one. Briançon has a wonderful climbing history and in recent times has become one of the IFSC's most famous and popular tour stops. To win in Briançon with a huge and passionate crowd cheering you on remains one of the sport's greatest prizes. Yes, and welcome to Briançon. We've got no less than 10 categories of climbers all going for that most sought after of prizes, a win in Briançon here this evening. It is the Paraclimbing World Cup live from a beautiful south of France. The mountains currently enjoying their last rays of sun, and the wall, I'm pleased to say, has been firmly out of the sun all day, which is just as well because it has been extremely hot. And there are our athletes live on the stage. We've just had observation, and as I say, we've got 10 categories of climbers taking part tonight. We haven't got that much overlap. There will be times when two of the finals are running simultaneously, at which time we will do our best to bring you all the action from both. But most of the time we'll be able to focus on one final at a time, and you'll be able to watch every move of every climber. Officially we get underway at 8 o'clock, which is in 2 minutes time. It's just a large group photo being taken, I believe, in front of the wall. Just to run you through the running order tonight, we've got women B2 up first, then women RP2, men AU2, then men RP1. Men's AU2 will overlap slightly with women's RP2. Then we've got men B2, men B1, men B2, men RP2 at the same time as men AL2, women RP3 and then men RP3. So they're the 10 categories. Let's see how the climbers got there. Under a fierce sun, the Paraclimbing World Cup qualifiers began in Briançon and we chatted to some of those involved.
I am Urco Carmona Barandiaran. I come from Spain. I am the category LA2. It's a little hot, but we are accustomed here in Spain, and here like this hot is for us is normal. The first qualifying route was very good, was hard, some good holes and steep that I like that climbing, no, like overhang, because so many times the qualifying routes they put in a slab and that's worse for us. In like overhang is much more better, no, you can enjoy it more.
Setting for para competitions is a specific skill, so we caught up with our chief setter to find out more.
Here in Briançon, I'm the chief route setter for the paraclimbing competition, and my name is Christophe Cazin. It's not very different for the paraclimbing, just set routes like we set for the valid, but after the job is to try the route, and so we try to replicate the disability when we try the route to adjust the movement and make it possible for them.
There's a real mix of nationalities represented in Briançon, with para-athletes coming from 11 different countries to compete. There's 55 competitors in total, split into 11 categories, plus coaches such as Britain's Robin O'Leary.
My name's Robin O'Leary and I am the manager and coach of the GB paraclimbing team. Today we're here in Briançon for our first, the GB team's first World Cup of the year. And as a manager and coach, it is slightly more involved because we have a lot more to do potentially than normal, because we've got to do all of the deal with the sports psychology side of things and making sure the athletes are calm. But there's such a range of disabilities in the team, from the visually impaired, which we have to route read and guide their hands and actually sight guide whilst they're on the route, to route reading with missing limbs. So it's much more involved.
finals promise to be action-packed, with 10 categories finals being squeezed into just a few hours. Thankfully for the competitors, conditions are likely to improve, with the fierce sun disappearing behind the peaks of the Ekran National Park and temperatures due to drop over the course of the evening. Check out the IFSC homepage and YouTube page for all the action. And there we can see all the climbers on stage, 55 climbers, and 11 different nationalities here in Briançon for this Paraclimbing World Cup. If you are just tuning in, Charlie Bosco here, live from the beautiful southern French town of Briançon, the confluence of two of southern France's major rivers. We're beneath the Col de Lotteret, Col de Galibier. Tour de France will be passing close by tomorrow. But tonight in Briançon, it's all about the paraclimbers. All the climbers being introduced to the crowd here. They're a knowledgeable bunch in Briançon. They know their climbing. Real climbers town, this. Huge amount of excellent rock climbing nearby, huge amount of excellent alpine climbing, skiing, hiking, via ferrata, you name it, they've got it. And chatting to a lot of the competitors today, sounds like they've been enjoying their time here. Just to remind you of the running order here this evening in Briançon. We've got women's B2 up first, we've then got women RP2. That will run simultaneously with men's AU2, and then we'll have men's RP1. Then got men B1, men B2, men RP2, that runs simultaneous with men AL2, and then women RP3 running simultaneous again with men RP3. Whenever climbers are not on the same wall and we can't cover them in the same shot, we will do our best to bring you every bit of action from every climber. But apologies in advance for when we have a bit of overlap. If we don't see everything live, we'll always endeavour to at least get a replay. But sit back and enjoy, because we've got an awful lot of action coming your way. We're estimated not to wrap up here until around 10:30 at night, so we've got about 2.5 hours of action. That's of course the organisers' best guess. So get comfortable, get a beer and settle in. There's been a lot of people, myself included, hoping that we saw a bit more of the paraclimbing in the IFSC live streams, so an excellent development to be here in Briançon. We'll also be covering their World Championship in Innsbruck, which runs concurrently with the main World Championship in September. All the climbers being introduced now. We're due to get underway in 5 minutes time. That'll be 8:10. Conditions reasonably good here. There's still quite a lot of heat in the air. The sun was so fierce today, and it's actually still on much of Briançon town. You can see there behind left the wall where the sun still is on the mountains. It's still muggy, it's still warm. But I remember from our last few years here in Briançon that the temperature drops very, very quickly. So the climbers have been introduced to the crowd. Lovely moment at the start of the competition. And now they're being ushered off the stage. And we'll be underway in around 4 minutes time. You can see the main wall here in Briançon, the main steep wall. 6 of the 10 categories represented will climb on that main wall. Men B1 and B2. We'll run you through them as each one comes around. 10 categories, total of 55 climbers took part in the qualifiers today, albeit not all of them have made it through to the final. With 55 climbers taking part from 11 different nationalities. It's been a fabulous event, and I was just saying that most of the climbers will climb on the main steep wall. There are also some categories who will be climbing round to the side on a vertical wall. So that was the start list for women's B2, which is the first category we're going to watch tonight. 5 climbers through to the final. Abigail Robinson of Great Britain will be first out. Chania Glusic of Slovenia, Roxanne Eili of France, Edith Scheinecker of Austria, and Sabine Ladel of France, the other 4 competitors in that one. So, first category up, women's B2. Now, if you are new to watching paraclimbing, I understand that the different categorizations can seem slightly confusing. To give you some idea, this is from the IFSC official classifications. B2, women's B2, which we're watching first, is visual impairment in both eyes, competitors having a visual acuity of up to 2/60 and or a visual field of less than 5%. Now, I was actually chatting to Robin O'Leary, who is the British paraclimbing coach and manager, and I said, well, what does that mean in real terms? And he said one of their B2 athletes, who has up to 5% vision, that's the definition of B2, describes it as looking through a straw with frosted glass at the end. So just to give you some idea of the impairment that these climbers are operating with. And as I say, it will be women's B2. People gradually making their way out here in Briançon. The brighter amongst them have brought their deck chairs. If you're in the region, by the way, my advice would be go and watch Tour de France tomorrow and then come back for more climbing on Friday. We've got the qualification in the Lead World Cup and the semi-finals, and the finals will be on Saturday. So watch the paraclimbing tonight, Tour de France tomorrow, 2 more days of climbing.
Abigail, you have to wait.
Not a bad couple of days, not a bad 4 days in the south of France.
Allez, on va juste prendre le temps de mettre la caméra en route. Ensuite, alors, c'est vrai qu'au championnat du monde, wait, Abigail, please.
So apologies if it suddenly sounds very silent. There's a reason for that. It's so that the coaches can describe to the visually impaired B2 athletes where the next holds are, what each move involves. So it's essential that the crowd is very quiet. Actually, in my commentary position, I'm quite a long way. I'm actually on the other side of the wall and watching this on a monitor, same as you guys at home. But even though I'm very quiet and a long way from the action, you feel quite self-conscious talking, but I will keep talking you through the action. This is Abigail Robinson of Great Britain. The 20-year-old is making pretty good progress. This is on the vertical wall. So as you look at the main wall here in Briançon, this is round to the left. And Abigail doing a pretty good job mantling onto the yellow volumes that mark just over halfway on this route. It's now a series of pretty small red crimps. You've got the final yellow volume and then the top beckons. You can see there the headset through which she's receiving information. Sunderland climber onto the Crimped. quite sensibly chalking up. And next you'll step out left. It's the final one of those tiny crimps, and you onto more small crimps, but at least they're at a slightly more sympathetic angle on the volume. The small yellow volume just needs to bump a hand a bit higher up there. And you can see the footholds coming up now on the right, on that white section of the wall. Still the crowd here silent. It'll be a big roar if you can top the route. Everyone's actually gathered under that sidewall. We saw a shot of the crowd earlier on. They're the ones facing the wall. The ones to the side are about to make some noise because that is the top for Abigail Robinson. Wonderful start here in Briançon. We're underway with the top. Four climbers still to come. But it's Abigail Robinson with the top to start us off.
Comme vous l'avez compris, sans guide, il n'y a pas de performance. Alors je pense que, comme on dit toujours, il développe d'autres choses que nous on n'a pas. Et là, il disait des fois, mets la main à l'endroit où tu as mis le pied. Et je pense qu'elle a bien enchaîné et bien gardé en mémoire cette voie. Donc ça, c'était notre première voie sortie. La deuxième, elle représente la Slovénie. Je voudrais que vous applaudissiez. Tanja Glusic, Slovenia.
So Tanja Glusic of Slovenia. Next climber, we've just seen Abigail Robinson top the route. 5 climbers still to come, 4 climbers still to come, including Tanja, Roxanne Hiley, Edith Scheinecker, and Sabine Ladelle. Still to make their way onto the route. As ever, on the IFSC live streams, you can get in touch. #IFSCWC on Twitter. I'm hoping that Great Britain coach Robin O'Leary is actually going to be in the commentary box at a couple of stages this evening. So do fire any questions over for him. And Tanja, the nice cautious start. We know that the route can be topped. Abigail Robinson did it without looking too troubled. Again, silence falls here in Briançon. Tanja just trying to locate the tiny screw on and the yellow volumes. I wonder now, she might need to decide whether to risk popping up with that right hand. She does. Look like she might have got herself in a bit of an awkward position then. But she's rescued it, committed up with the right hand. Slightly risky move, but she did have that small screw on for her right foot. Just gives you enough confidence to rock onto the volumes. She's up into the next series of 3 volumes. And again, as we saw with Abigail, seemingly untroubled this stage, not looking too taxed physically. Jesus just chalk up and just lost a bit of time and energy locating the small screw on underneath the yellow volume there. You can see where she's got to go there. That is the last series of volumes. There is one more, which is just entering that crimpy section. Then it'll be the step right onto the white section of the wall. Come back left. Hopefully to the top. Quite a few moves to go still though. Definitely climbing at a slower pace to Abigail Robinson, but equally effectively at this stage. Again, just getting her feet set. Thinking about going, looks as if she was considering going direct. I suspect she's received information that she'd be better going out left than coming back right. You can see there the crowd silently underneath the route, willing her up rather than cheering her on. If you think back a couple of years ago to the Paris World Championships, some incredible moments when we had the visually impaired climbers climbing in front of 12,000 silent people who then erupted at the end of each climb. So Tanya, ignoring the method out left, she's a slightly shorter climber. It certainly looked easier to go out left and then come back to the right, but she's using a different method here. We saw Abigail come left onto that yellow volume, then right onto those holds, those red holds. Now, can Tanya possibly do this without going back right? It certainly doesn't look as if she can, but if she can just about reach that hold, the route setters think it can be done this way. You'd just expect from a climber slightly smaller like Tanya that she might use the method that didn't involve a big reach, and you can see she's absolutely at the limit of her reach there. Again, she goes, reaches up, and we lose a couple of moves before the top, so Abigail Robinson holds on to the lead. 3 climbers still to come. 28-year-old French climber Roxane Ailey out next. Interesting for Tanya, we saw a couple of methods that didn't tally up with how the route setters had been climbing the route, or how we saw Abigail climbing it, but she made them work, and it was just that final reach. She went for it a couple of times, just couldn't quite find the hold, or couldn't quite find the body position.
Non, il aura la radio parce qu'il n'aime pas partager les infos, l'entraîneur national de notre équipe de France. C'est vrai que les infos, c'est tellement une fois qu'on a un.
So round of applause for Tanya. Roxane will be out next onto the wall.
Vainqueur déjà de Coupe du Monde pour Roxane. Elle a été présente au championnat du monde à Paris-Bercy en 2012. Originaire de Thionville, Roxane.
Here is Roxane, who's been guided onto those first few holds. The world champion from 2012, qualified in 3rd place, is underway. Just didn't seem happy initially with her method early on. Seems slightly more settled now. Just those first series of pinches just took her a couple of attempts to figure out the exact method she wanted to use. Won here last time out in Briançon. In 2017 she climbs in front of a silent crowd round to the side of the big overhanging central wall here in Briançon. It's the most unusual circumstances to watch a climbing competition. It's so incredibly atmospheric. Up into the 3 volumes at about 2/3 to half height. And going pretty well at this stage. This triangular volumes cause problems for all 3 climbers. Just trying to locate exactly where the screw-on holds are, trying to figure out exactly where the best place to hold it is. It's not immediately obvious. And now she's found a pretty good rest. And now she's clear of the volumes. It's a very solid climb so far from Roxanne. Again, just trying to figure out how to find that, how to use that foothold for the right foot on the yellow volume. And obviously didn't like the look of it and opts instead to go high with the right foot. The problem that's going to cause is when she tries to go up and left of the volume, she's not going to be in balance, and we lose her. Slightly lower than Tanya, and much lower than Abigail Robinson, who topped the route and is now guaranteed at least a place on the podium. The question now is only which step she will stand on.
Et vous pouvez encore une fois l'applaudir. La première qui a sorti son épingle du jeu incroyablement bien pour l'instant.
Gets a big round of applause.
La prochaine,
Next climber out, Edith Scheinecker of Austria. There's a main overhanging wall in Briançon. This women's B2 is taking place just around the corner. You can see the ropes moving on the left-hand side of the wall, and behind that you can see the sun setting on the peaks behind Briançon City. It really is the most fabulous venue to have a paraclimbing competition.
À Innsbruck sur le gros centre olympique avec un mur qui fait presque, je sais pas, 2 fois celui-là. Alors ça va être terrible, ça se passera mi-septembre. C'est parti pour Edith Scheinecker.
So Edith Scheinecker chasing down Abigail Robinson, who has already topped the route, the only climber to do so out of the 3 we've seen. for a pretty smooth start. Roxanne Hiley just never seems to quite get into that lower section. She found a rhythm again slightly higher on, but never quite looked comfortable. Quite a contrast to Abigail. What can Edith produce? Hails from the town of Enns in Austria. Enns. Quite close to Linz. Central southern Austria. Excuse me, central northern Austria. Getting my Graz and Linzes mixed up. And making pretty good headway, it would seem, at this stage. Onto those 3 volumes now. Again, she's just actually needs to find a way of getting that right foot back on. She needs to find some way of getting the weight off that hand. It's an uncomfortable position to try and hold. You see the wind blowing. It's blowing her shirt around. I'm joined here in the commentary box as we just lose Edith's right hand by Team GB coach and manager Robin O'Leary.
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, very good, very good. I mentioned I've been chatting to you earlier. You've been on the highlights. I mean, you've been on this show more than me this evening.
How's everything going? Good?
Yeah, good, good. It's amazing to watch the B2. I mean, the last time I experienced this live was in Bercy in 2016.
the World Champs. It's amazing, isn't it? Because you've got a big crowd, but everybody's completely silent for obvious reasons.
And I was saying, we're a long way from the wall, but you still feel slightly self-conscious. You feel like you're kind of taking away from the excitement by even saying anything.
Absolutely.
Your job is on the ground for some of the visually impaired climbers. Just talk us through what the relationship is. We'll keep an eye on Edith.
Yeah, so the stage, I guess the relationship starts completely behind the scenes, so in training, so you have to build up that trust. And working with the visually impaired starts from training, and in a competition like this you have to go into isolation and start warming up the athletes, but also to try and recruit them or get them ready for this specific route. So we get to see in advance either a demonstration on video or the route before the athletes, and we have to talk them through. So we'd actually grab their hands from behind and talk distances, the types of the holds, the feel, the texture, where the volumes are, and we kind of orientate them on a clock face and obviously distance as well. And then obviously when they go out, they have to solely rely on our sight guide.
There's a bit of experience coming in for you. Be fair to say, Edith, one of the more senior competitors, incredibly impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, a bit of experience there coming in. There's no shame in getting the knee involved.
No, technical knee.
It's been a pretty solid attempt. Great start from Abigail Robinson.
Fantastic.
Cruised it.
Yeah, she looked very nervous, but she did really well. I think she missed out a hold as well too.
Edith, I think, is she trying to manufacture a rest, or?
It's just to try and drive up into those undercuts. It's just for B2, we've got that range of vision, so up to 5%. So one of our athletes, John, on the male side, who didn't make finals today, but he he likens it to either looking through frosted glass or looking through a straw with frosted glass at the end, or with cotton wool in it. So they essentially kind of have a perception of light, and then they may see a shadow within a foot or so of their faces.
Is just heading up. She was about to go up left onto that yellow volley, and then you come back right, and then it's back up left to the top. It means Abigail Robinson guaranteed a second place.
Guaranteed, yeah. So this is Abby's first World Cup too. Good start.
Yeah, hails from Sunderland. They've got an amazing facility up there.
Brilliant wall.
So last climber out, Sabine Ladel. Something of a veteran. So this is what you were describing with the sight guide, is
Absolutely.
just helping her locate the first few holds.
Yeah. So for some, they have that perception where they can see the holds, and others don't have that at all. So today there's been a merge of categories. So if you're in category B1 and you have zero vision, you're totally blind, you've been merged with those that have got slight vision. And as it's a sport for paraclimbing in its infancy, we see these mergers quite frequently.
Is that just a necessity thing? It just comes down to numbers?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think it's a growing sport. We're seeing more and more athletes, and hopefully soon it won't be the case. But for this event, we've seen the merge in a few categories, including for RP2. So Hannah, who's up out after these athletes.
It is women's RP2 that's going to run concurrently with men's AU2.
So we've got two athletes out. So we've got Hannah in RP2 and Matthew Phillips for Team GB, also in AU2.
I had a chat with Matt earlier. Psyched as ever.
Yeah, he is. This route that he's got, which is the adjacent route to these ladies, has actually got a dyno in it. So Matt's is pretty excited. It looks very technical, despite being a dyno, but it should be fun.
You think it'll suit him? Think he can pull it off?
It's basically, Matt likes something slightly overhanging, because with just beyond elbow, as an amputee, he was born with it, but he's got a little bit of a hook, so he likes obviously slightly larger holds. On a vert panel, setters tend to go for more crimpy and technical climbs. That's not necessarily easy with I guess a right stump.
Time will tell. In the meantime, we've got Sabine Ladel and Abigail Robinson could be looking at a World Cup win.
Yeah,
Sabine,
it's a brilliant start.
Sabine can't top it. She's climbing pretty neatly so far. Timing likely to be an issue. They're relatively short routes.
This panel is quite short. Have you ever climbed blindfold climbing?
No, I can't say I have.
No. Next time you go to the wall, you should try it.
I bet it's quite an experience.
Absolutely. It gives you a much greater appreciation of what these guys go through. Because it's not your typical jog run. This is a hard technical climb.
Well, to be honest, I find climbing pretty tough.
As it is.
When the rock's solid, I got good vision. I mean, it is just fantastic to watch. As I say, it was one of the standouts for me from Bassi a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and it's good again that it's on such a grand scale.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The camera shot of the front of the wall didn't really do it justice. Everyone's crowded around the side.
Yeah,
we've got a camera woman on the roof who's currently recording the action. It's an amazing setting here in Briançon.
But all of these athletes are really looking forward to Innsbruck and the World Championships too, because they love competing in front of this big crowd. They like showing off what their training's all about.
Still we're silent here in Briançon.
So there's a lot of trust involved here. So you can obviously see that she's locked off with her right hand, well now her left hand, but she needs to rock over to this next volume. And she's purely going on the information of the site guide saying that you've got to rock over. You can see that her right leg is really firmly cemented on that volume. She needs to rock over. Here we go. And then she's got to get in balance, whether she matches feet inside flags or she just flicks. We'll see what she goes for.
Looks like she's going to go and try and do it. I thought she was going to try and do something dynamically there, but instead she set herself again on that left foot.
She's on.
It was touch
Good
and
effort.
go.
Yeah.
It must take a long time to build the relationship between you and your athletes for them to trust you.
Absolutely, yeah, because at first, I guess if they fall off, they question whether we were giving them the right information, the right beta.
I bet there's still the odd frank exchange of views, isn't there?
Yeah, sometimes. Looking for the seam there.
Yeah, there's not
There
really
we go.
anything for the feet
No.
there. There it is.
So outside edge, big lock off, and then into this side pull.
Yeah, I was slightly worried when Abigail cruised it. The root setters might have slightly undercooked it, but
They've actually done a really good
they've
job
done
here,
a
haven't
great job, yeah.
They did the same last year. It was fantastic. All of the athletes really loved the routes here.
Yeah, it was Abigail who was cruising, not the root setters who'd made a mistake.
This is the section that's quite tricky here.
Yeah, we've seen climbers struggle to figure out how to use that arrowhead
Yeah.
yellow volume.
So we've got two undercuts under there. Quite looking from below, they're quite slopey, but obviously this bit gives you a bit of a hands-off rest because it's a vertical wall. Your feet are away from the wall on the volume, so you want to maximise this time to recover, recoup, and get ready for the crimpy climb ahead, the small holds.
So the fifth climber out, beginning to figure this route out or learn it off by heart. We've seen, I can't say we've kind of figured it out actually, we've seen a lot of different methods.
Here it is, there. Whoa, on the biceps.
One thing I think you notice watching visually impaired climbers as well, yeah, it's difficult because they're unable to see where they're going, but it's also physically harder because the moves take longer.
Oh yeah, so they're
It's like pausing midway through every move.
It is exactly that. So their static lock off, their ability to lock off and then reach and search for holds above them, so impressive.
So you can't really compare it in grades to what a fully sighted person could do because it's a fully sighted person doing it but having to lock off for 5 seconds in every move. It just
I think that's the same for all of these categories. One of the commentators earlier was kind of saying all of the grades out loud, but if you're missing a limb, you're visually impaired, or for the RP category, so some of them have just been timed out.
we lose Sabine. That does mean the Team Great Britain has just picked up its first World Cup win of the Briançon World Cup. We're only half an hour in.
Yeah, it's a great start.
Fantastic result for Abby Robinson. Great start for Team GB. Slightly sad for Sabine. Got timed out there.
So hopefully over the future of this sport, there will start to be a kind of a fairer, or a level playing ground, just because this athlete has zero vision, and some of the athletes we've seen today in B2 have up to 5%. So Abby, for example, can see a little bit within a meter. She can see shades and shadows, which is obviously more than this lady.
If people, I know you've got to disappear in a sec, Robin, but if people out there watching want to get involved with paraclimbing, how can they do that if they're in Great Britain?
In Great Britain, we have a paraclimbing series which runs through the winter season. But more importantly, it's the best thing to do is just find out where your local wall is and get involved. So it's very easy to shy away, and if you're missing a limb or you're vision impaired, or if you have any disability at all, you may disregard climbing as unsuitable, but these guys are inspiring us all, and it's great to see. I'd like to see this sport grow so that in the future we have just as many athletes as the Junior and Senior World Cups.
That was the sound of our light falling over. Good catch.
Thanks.
So women RP2 is underway. This is Sandra Pollack of Austria. Now RP2,
yeah.
Well, RP stands for range power, but the full name I'm told is limited range power or stability.
Yeah, essentially. So this category has you can have various disabilities. Some people have neurological disabilities, so you may not see them physically, but they have. You can have a permanent state of concussion, like one of our chaps in RP3, so Dave Bowes, who had a motorbike accident about 10 years ago. So there's the lights falling over. So yeah, he's got a permanent state of concussion, and that makes him really shaky, and he loses a lot of muscle strength and power quite quickly. He has a lot of fatigue. We also have an athlete in this category in the females, Hannah. Hannah Baldwin has, although on the surface of things she has 2 legs, her right leg she cannot use at all. So again, this has been a merge of categories. So RP1 and RP2 were merged together in this competition.
Sandra Pollack, so far, getting on pretty well with the routes. There's 5 climbers to come in RP2. Hannah Baldwin, who we just mentioned, Solène Piret of France, Lucia Capovilla of Italy, again a French climber, Marlène Prat, and Jasmine Plank of Austria. So Austrians starting and finishing the final.
So talking to Hannah beforehand, this is the move that is really troubling her from her route read, because she's only got use of her left leg. So imagine the right leg can't smear or drag there. She's got to really press down and stand up into these undercuts, which they're not good. You have to really stand up into them and use the pressure and the force, the directional force.
Sandra having to fight for this one as well. She's been pushed out by that yellow volume. You can see it's just pushing her off to the side. You can't quite get comfortable. If you're just joining us, Charlie Bosco and Robin O'Leary, Team Great Britain coach, here live on a beautiful evening here in Briançon with no less than 10 categories of paraclimbing action coming up for you. This is women's RP2. Told that men's AU2 will run simultaneous to it.
Yeah, I think we've had the first chap up from Germany on the left. He's already fallen off.
Andreas Band. Keep an eye on the scores as best we can. Apologies if we do miss the occasional bit of action. We have got some of the finals running concurrently. Most of them are completely alone, so you should see virtually every move from every climber, but we have got some finals running alongside each other.
So Matt Phillips, who I coach, is just jumping on the wall, I think on the left now, I think they just said.
So he may well climb into shot. We will try and get a camera over there. In the meantime, Sandra going well. Yeah, just to confirm, we did have Andreas Band. His score just coming through. There's Matt.
So Matt has got, Matt's competing against a Spanish chap called Pablo, who's got a very similar disability to him, so almost exactly the same. And they have both topped their...
As we lose Sandra, just going up to those crimps out to the right, not too far from the top.
Very close. Yeah, Matt topped his first 2 routes, as did Pablo. So this route, if they both top it, will come down to time. So Matt will be conscious of time as well as precision.
Yeah, those of you who watch IFSC lead, where we seem to get a lot of ties, particularly on the women's side, if it's for a podium position and they're tied throughout every round of the competition, which Matt and Pablo are,
so
it does come down to time on the final route, and Matt absolutely powering up this.
Yeah, he is. So here we go. He's got a few bits up here that look really tricky. There's a sloper there and a blocked off crimp, and he's going to rock over. And here there's basically a jug, or a kind of a finger jug on this next volume. So he's read it as a bit of a pop. There we go.
Nicely done, full commitment.
And now here, it's going to be quite tough. You've got a bit of a screw on, so a small hold on the top, he's popped to it.
This is absolutely fantastic stuff from Matt Phillips. He's just seen his compatriot win a World Cup.
Yeah.
Can he join her?
Here comes the pops. There's a dyno to a blocked hold at the top.
Got to be super accurate, super committed. It's getting slightly dark here in Briançon. We could do with the spotlight being swung round, but you can see where he's aiming for.
Here he goes.
Needs to get himself set. He's climbed really, really quickly, so he can take his time. And he just misses it. He touches the top hold. Matt Phillips, that was the move he'd identified.
Yeah, that was up. So it was a blocked hold at the top. And obviously he has got to go to it with his left hand because he's missing his right hand. We'll see how Pablo gets on. Great pace though.
Yeah, he absolutely flew up the lower section of the route. I actually think he went past it. He went well past it.
Because it's blocked hold, so there's like a slot.
Yeah, he went past the blocker as well.
Yeah, he did. Too much power, Matt.
Normally a nice problem to have.
Yeah. Here comes Pablo. So Pablo like you
Branco
said, he won the
Barrios.
last World Cup. And here's Hannah Baldwin. So you can see that although she has her right leg physically, she has no use of it whatsoever. She can't feel it, she can't engage any muscles at all.
So we've got Hannah Baldwin of the UK currently on the wall. We've just had Matt Phillips of the UK on the wall. Pablo Blanco Barrios of Spain now underway. Oh God, I'm still relaxing a bit from Matt. The speed he was climbing as well. Brilliant stuff. Okay.
So far so good for Hannah.
Yeah, Hannah looking really solid, and an interesting aspect of people have nipped out and made a cup of tea and come back. A lot of the routes are shared between the categories.
Yeah.
So this is the same route we saw earlier on for women's B2.
So it's this section that she was quite worried about, but she's looking pretty comfortable at the moment. And you can see Pablo in the background, also a very strong climber.
Well, he must have some idea of how quickly he was called out, how quickly Matt was going.
Hey. All on that last move, I think it'll be.
Just waiting for our scores to come through, but Matt Phillips, he did touch the top hold. You can see it there. These moves here were no gimme though.
No, let's see how he gets on. So Matt did a little pop, so he's popped into the bottom of the volume.
Yeah, Matt just went straight away. Pablo misses it.
He's off.
And Matt Phillips picks up a World Cup win.
Yeah, I think we thought Matt would have had to top that route. So you could see Matt looked slightly disappointed when he didn't catch the top hold, especially as he loves dyno so much. But Pablo's fall there worked in his favour. Hannah in the meantime is looking really comfortable. But we were talking about pace, so if you do top a route, it does come down to speed. If both of the competitors have topped all of their qualifiers, for Hannah, speed is much more difficult. If you're dragging essentially a limb behind, you can't engage it, you can't use it. It's much harder.
This is going to be a really tricky move now because ideally you get the right leg out wide.
She's got it though. She's very tall, Hannah.
Yeah, using the height cleverly.
So she's going to have to really press down to get those feet high. That left hand isn't actually good at all. It's quite open-handed. It's quite slopey.
Now, I mean, personally, I'd be getting my bum involved here and trying to shuffle onto that volume.
Yep.
I don't know if there's a way of doing it dignified. Well, there certainly is.
Here comes to the match.
Just like that. My hips don't bend like that. That's my excuse. And she's lining it up for the top.
Come on.
Could this be a wonderful
really
World
good.
Cup? It could.
Great job, Hannah.
Wow, Great Britain.
That's amazing.
What a Briançon trip they're having. Hannah Baldwin tops her route. Solène Piré of France, next climber out. So already concluded 2 categories here in Briançon. Abigail Robinson won the visual impairment B2 in a field of 5 climbers, and Matt Phillips won the AU2 forearm amputee in the men's side. Solène Piré out next. In front of a home crowd.
So another example of the merged categories here with a lower arm amputee.
Yeah, if you go on the IFSC website and you're wondering, well, why have men got certain categories that women haven't, as Robin mentioned we have had a merging of categories. How do the athletes generally react to that? As a disappointment, or?
Yeah, it is. It is. They put in as much training as any athlete. Some of them are full time, and to turn up to a competition, one, to find out you've got no specific competitors is really disappointing. And then if you're merged with a category that may be disadvantageous to you, then yeah, it's not going to be great news. But it's a growing sport, so the more people that get involved, the better.
Great advert for it. Very pleased that we're streaming it here on the IFSC. There's been a lot of people calling for the paraclimbing to be streamed, myself included. And great to be here. Qualifiers earlier were fantastic. Mentioned it at the top of the broadcast. 55 climbers, 11 nations represented across 10 categories. It ended up. It was originally 11.
Yeah.
We ended up with 10.
But all of this, I mean, just watching this now, it just shows that you can do anything. Like having essentially half your right arm, you wouldn't think climbing would be the sport for you, but here we go.
Solen in absolute cruise control on this route so far, but you can see the grimace on her face. As the effort really begins to tell now.
She's got a big move here. She's really getting her hips close to the wall. It's fantastic.
Fantastic flexibility. It's plumb vertical.
So
the
good.
wall here in Briançon.
Wow. Tiny crimps.
This is great stuff. The crowd getting into this. It's not like when we had the visually impaired climbers earlier and we had to have silence followed by a big roar. The crowd are welcome to get behind the climbers as much as they want, and it would seem they're getting right behind Solen Piré.
It's good that they stuck all the visually impaired athletes together this time, because sometimes you have athletes on stage alongside visually impaired, and it means nobody can cheer for them. But here we go.
Yeah, timetable's been well done this time. She's got to commit here. Oh, and she just misses it.
She was very fast too. She was definitely faster than Hannah.
Yeah, I think if it had come down to time, she would have taken that away from Hannah, but as it was that final move. Lucia Capovilla of Italy climbing next. After that, we got men's B1. Just keeping track of all my start list.
Yeah, I know.
Got 10 categories of paper everywhere here. Looks
So we have one more lady in this category. Is that correct?
no, we've got 3.
3 more.
We've got Lucia Capovilla out next, Marlene Pratt, or Marlene, excuse me, we're in France, not Germany, and Jasmine Plank of Austria.
Okay.
And then we're on to men's B1 and men's B2. You mentioned John earlier on, one of your athletes, didn't quite make the final.
Yeah, so John.
But you'll be working a bit later on. You will be. You have athletes still to come, right?
We've got, so after the 3 that have come out, we had 2 more into the finals. We've got Dave Bowes.
Yes, in
so RP3.
3, yeah.
And we also have Joe Waterton, who's in AL2, so females, but that's been merged as well. So she's in RP3, women's RP3. So that's a lot later. We were told originally it was supposed to be a 9:30 finals. So these guys have been in isolation, or will have been in isolation, for 5 hours. It's quite a long time.
It's a long time.
So initially you go in and you sleep.
Yeah, I was going to ask actually, the athlete I normally see you with, because you visually on the camera, is John.
John, yeah.
Disappointed today, or?
Oh, she popped on unexpectedly
we lose
there.
it going into those volumes.
So
this is looking increasingly promising for Hannah Baldwin.
So John picked up a finger injury about 2-3 months ago, and he hasn't actually been able to climb much at all.
It was
So
on his left ring finger, right?
exactly.
Middle
So
finger? Ring finger?
his ring finger, yeah.
Yeah.
So coming into this competition, he's climbed twice in the last 2 months. So to be honest, it wasn't the best preparation.
Yeah.
So we were using it really to see where he was, how his finger reacted, and what's needed to do, what he needs to do before the World Championships in Innsbruck. He's also been joined by 2 other athletes from Great Britain who are visually impaired. We've got Richard Slowcock.
As we lose Sebastian Depke, first climber out in men RP1.
Incredible
So go ahead.
athlete. So Richard Slowcock has joined John in B2, and we've also got Jesse Dufton, who joins us in the visually impaired categories in B1. So Jesse came 4th today, really close, as did Rich. Just slightly unfortunate, but it's their first World Cup, so they're quite happy with their performance.
This is Marlène Prat of France again, climbing in front of home nation.
The French are very aware of the time restraints, so they're climbing really smoothly, really quickly.
Yeah, she is absolutely rocketing. It's been a pretty good sporting week for France so far.
Yeah.
Surely wouldn't mind adding a bit more to the trophy cabinet.
Et c'est une de ses premières années aussi de grimpe avec nous. Première fois qu'on l'a voyé sur le championnat de France.
Yeah, she is absolutely rocketing, Marlène. If it does come down to time, she could be looking pretty good at this stage. It's a long way to go, of course.
Here you can see the obvious advantage of having 4 limbs compared to Hannah, but she will have probably neurological disabilities. So here she needs to get those feet high. She's pressing the right foot. Here we go. Then she can drive and keep her hips close to the wall.
And still absolutely rocketing. Might take advantage of the rest, or might not.
Barely. She's very conscious of time. So here come the feet, flipping the undercut. There we go. She's looking great.
Up onto the Crimps. We know this route pretty well now. She'll head out left onto that yellow volume. Come back right. Although we saw Tanya earlier on of Slovenia using a completely different method, but most of the climbers have gone out left and come back right.
Yeah.
Last rays of light here in Briançon, 9 o'clock at night. Conditions improving by the minute. It was incredibly hot today.
So hot today. What was the temperature? 34?
Ooh, as we lose Marlène, just going up. I think it was the right foot that went.
Slip. I missed that actually.
Yeah, the right foot just popped.
And the volume, heel too high.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, today 34 sounds
34
about right.
degrees, yeah. So different athletes had different positions on the wall for their qualifications, and it was this side, which isn't in camera, that was in the blazing sunlight all day.
It was fierce, hey? But
so hot.
But we mentioned him earlier on. I was talking to John. He said conditions are pretty good up there. I was quite surprised.
John Churcher?
Yeah.
So yes, the holes weren't that greasy, but for these guys, when it's so bright for the visually impaired and you have light perception, they're very aware of how bright it is. And on the wall, they have yellow holds on a grey wall, which if you think, oh, visually impaired, it doesn't matter. But like I said earlier, for John, he has 5% vision, he's got 3% vision. And if there's a really light hold, you see nothing. If it's a slightly darker hold, you start to see the shadows, which is much better for them.
So last climber out in women's RP2. Running concurrently is men's RP1. It's an all-German affair. 3 climbers there: Sebastian Depke, Corbinian Frank, and Nils Helsper. Jasmine, I'm sure will be aware of time.
Yeah, I think they're very aware, having heard Hannah top because of the kind of the crowd roar. They are going to try and top it and beat Hannah's time.
Yeah, she's definitely trying to move as fast as she can, Jasmine. Very unlikely to be timed out, though we have seen it so far today, but if you climb at this kind of pace, it shouldn't be a problem at all. And you mentioned it earlier, you can see visually the difference in impairments between Jasmine and Hannah.
Yeah.
It's just an inevitable consequence of categories being merged.
Yeah, absolutely. I think more athletes have entered into the World Championships in Innsbruck, so there'll be less mergers happening in Innsbruck.
We'll have plenty of paraclimbing for you in Innsbruck. Fear not, only a couple of months away.
Yeah.
That's a big focus for the team.
It's a huge focus. So this is really to see where all the athletes are. Some, Belinda and I, so Belinda Fuller is also coach and manager of the team with me. And we work more closely with some athletes, so we're really aware of their progress, but it's good to see the other athletes, how they're faring in World Cups such as this.
We almost saw her slip there, left foot popped. Jasmine Plank.
You've got to fully rock over, but that heel can't come too high. She almost looks like she's stepping on the spine of that volume, which won't be a good thing.
Chooses to shake out. She climbs so fast through that lower section. I think it's time just to take stock. You've seen Marlene Pratt just now lost her right foot.
She needs to bring that right foot much higher though. There we go. So now she should be able to rock over, but she's got to get all of that weight on the left leg so she can stand up.
Slams up with the left foot. Slips. And she slips. Hannah Baldwin.
Three gold medals so far.
So that's a gold medal for Hannah Baldwin, Great Britain, in women's RP2.
Quite eager to see the athletes actually.
So out next, Robin, are you okay? You don't need to get going.
I kind of want to see Matt, Hannah, and Abby after winning. But yeah, I can say we've got a long time between now and when our next two athletes come out.
Okay, it's great for us if you can stay, but I totally
I'll
understand.
stay for a little bit, yeah.
Just waiting for results to be confirmed. So Matt Phillips, as you mentioned.
And then once we're done on this side panel, everybody gets to see this impressive competition wall, which if you look from the front, it doesn't look that spectacular, but from the side view, which we've got here, you really do see how steep that middle section is. I think they were saying it's 55 degrees.
Yeah, we were up there on the cherry picker earlier, putting the cameras up.
Oh, really?
And it's extraordinary.
These are your cameras on the side?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, we should get some good shots from her, we're hoping.
Yeah.
This one here's from the shot here's from one of them. So the crowd beginning to shift around. Oh, there is John Churcher.
Yep, there he is.
He's getting plenty of exposure, isn't he? We should be taking kickbacks from his sponsors.
One thing that I see that's slightly different, just looking in front of us now, and you've got the competition wall. When they come onto the competition wall, you'll see that they're on two top ropes. It's just because of the severity of the wall, the angles. So they'll climb up to one section with one B-layer, and then that B-layer will start to play off slack as the other B-layer starts to take in. You'll see that happen. So you'll start to see, oh, here we go now. You can see two ropes there. You'll see some big swings later, but it's the safest way to climb on something so steep.
So this men's RP1. 3 climbers, all German in this one. Sebastian Depke, Corbinian Frank and Nils Helsper. I will do my best to keep you up to date with scores and results, but as so often seems to be the case with comedy timing, we seem to have very slow results coming through. I do apologise.
There we go.
So yeah, just to confirm, Hannah Baldwin did top. She was the only climber who did so in women's RP2. She takes a win for Great Britain.
So a flawless competition for Hannah. 3 tops, 2 qualies in the final.
Corbinian Frank is underway in men's RP1. After this, we've got men's B1, then men's B2. Schedule running just about on time. I'll give you a heads up how much time the organisers have allocated, just so if you're sitting at home you can plan your drinking.
Meals. Drinking.
9:20 local time, which is about 15 minutes now. They're expecting to have men's B1, as I say, we're running about on schedule. Men's B2 would be 21:35, and then running concurrently men's RP2, men's AL2 at 21:55, and then at 22:25 women RP3 and men RP3.
That's when we'll see the final two British athletes come out. So Joanna Waterton in RP3, women's RP3, and Dave Bowes in male RP3.
Corbinian and Frank having a real battle here. He kind of levered off the wall.
He's got a kind of a knee scum going on there too, and he's on the arch of his foot. Now he's changed it to the heel. He's got to really rock over.
Having to fight so hard to stay on in that move. It looked like he, for all the world, like he was off a couple of times there. Found a way to recover it.
So here you'll start to see the mobility issues with some of these athletes. This is really impressive.
Yeah, incredibly impressive in that lower section when he kept levering in the left hand, and what you described very accurately as a knee scum, just about keeping him on, and now he's well underway.
This is really good. So he's got to roll the whole way over to the side pull and then twist his body around. And it's all about getting high feet, and then you've got these two quite good positive holds on the volume.
Incredible to watch the difference in the way this is climbed and how Matt did it.
Yeah.
And you can see the difference in the categories. It's, you get the same route. I mean,
it's a hard job for a setter. They've got a set for so many categories, and they do so well.
But when I watch the World Cups week in, week out, you see different methods, but not this different.
No,
I mean, it's incredible. The route's almost unrecognisable.
Yeah. So this is a really slopey hole, which you actually have to guppy. So you like really wrap your hands around, but he couldn't quite get that.
I thought he was just about going to hang it. Corbinian and Frank, that will be enough to take him ahead of Sebastian Depke.
Great effort.
Nils Helsper still to come. And I think he's saying to the belayer, left everything on the wall.
Good. Cool.
Robin, thank you very much for your time. If you do get a chance, or you just fancy, I don't know what I can offer you. Some water, whatever.
I could come
We've got
back.
some biscuits in the van,
If you want
whatever,
to speak to some
anything
of
to
the
tempt you
athletes as
back.
well.
That would be great, yeah.
Yeah, have
and
a chat with them.
if you want to pop back later, or you got any of the athletes who'd be keen to come and say hello, that'd be great, because paraclimbing is something we've wanted to see more and more of on the live stream. And I've watched qualifiers today, and I watched it in Bercy, and I've read about it and done my research, but nothing beats having you guys here explaining it.
Yeah.
So
well, thanks for having me.
really appreciate your time.
Yeah, I'll try and get the athletes over so you can get a little bit more in-depth knowledge about what it's like for them on the wall. But thanks very much.
Well, that'd be fantastic. Thank you very much for your time. Enjoy the rest of the
Sorry.
evening, and say well done to the team.
Will do.
Great start.
Cheers, thank you.
Ensuite, dans la partie centrale, on aura les déficients visuels mais complètement non-voyants. Donc on aura 3 grimpeurs, ensuite on aura les B2. Toujours dans les déficients visuels, on aura encore 3. Et on attaquera en parallèle ensuite les catégories RP avec la catégorie amputée des jambes. Et on terminera avec les filles et les garçons RP3 des deux côtés du mur.
See that, Nils Helsper, just getting ready. Seen his compatriots Sebastian Depke and Corbinian Frank climbing already. Thank you to Robin O'Leary for his time. He's disappeared off round to the wall. Very generous, spending so much time over here while his team's been collecting World Cup win after World Cup win. As I said to him, fantastic to get his insight. It's all well and good me observing the sport and reading about it, but Robin very much on the inside. Coach and manager of Team GB. So great to have him. So Nils Helsper, the third German of 3 in this men's RP1 final. Just seen an absolutely fantastic 200% effort from his compatriot Corbinian Frank. And it was this move that Corbinian struggled with, managed to find a way through it, but it looked tough. And Nils, you can see he could do with being over to the right hand side of that volume. He's just trying to figure out if there's some way he can do it, but I think he's going to try and cross through with the left hand. He's already been there once with the left hand. Chalking up now. Is he going to match and go out with the right hand? And the foot slips, and that means that Corbinian Frank will win men's RP1. That's a frustrating one for Nils Helspert. It was just the kind of move he's going to struggle with. Apologies again, we are once again having slightly slow results coming through. And you can see there down the front of the stage, the steepest part of the Briançon facility. Robin O'Leary mentioned it, incredibly steep middle section of the wall, 55 degrees overhanging. And out next, we will have men's B1. 3 climbers taking part in this one as the crowd make their way over to underneath the central part of the wall. Nicolas Manwou, he will be out first. Team France. Francisco Javier Aguilar Amoedo. Apologies for my Spanish pronunciation. And Matteo Stefani out third. So everything running pretty much to time as it stands. We're slightly ahead. We were expecting the men's B1 to commence at 9:20, which is about 7 minutes from now. I think by the time the athletes have been introduced and everyone's got ready, we'll probably be about there. And there we can see our 3 athletes that will be competing in men's B1. Francisco Xavier Aguilar Amoedo. Apologies, as I say, for my Spanish pronunciation. Matteo climbing third. So already 4 finals concluded here in Briançon. 6 still to come. Plenty of action here to be had this evening. It's a wonderful evening. The good people of Briançon making their way out in good numbers and filling the huge field that forms our venue all of this week and into the weekend with the Lead World Cup. We're in a different venue than we have been in the past few years in Briançon. We're on the other side of town. We're at the sports centre right next to the 400 metre track, and we've got a huge venue. If it's packed then it will be quite the evening come Saturday. Meanwhile, it's quite the evening now. And I'm just looking out across the field, and it's filling up nicely. Wonderful evening and a good crowd, and the atmosphere excellent here in Briançon. And I can just see on the far side of the stage from me the first climber making their way on, and it is Nicolas Manwou. Getting a big introduction from the French MC. You would expect nothing less. Very successful competition climber, the 41-year-old Nicolas. Second place in the Paris World Championships in 2016. Nicolas just being shown the start holds. Crowd falls silent in Briançon. Remember, the crowd has to be silent so that the sight guides can give climbers instructions through the headsets and be heard. So Nicolas underway. This is a men's B1. Basically means entirely blind. The level of impairment, as according to the IFSC rules, is blind competitors. So it's competitors with absolutely no sight. And as I say, we need silence in the venue so that sight guides can do their thing. Nicolas will be receiving instructions through an earpiece, through a headset. And he's still on the second section of the wall. Slightly overhanging, 10 degrees overhanging. It's got about 4 meters to go until he hits the very steepest section of the wall, but it's a crimpy, tough route, this. And I mentioned it earlier on with Robin. Robin confirmed it. You've got to remember that these climbers have got to lock off, pause, and then do the next moves. It's one thing climbing crimpy, pumpy routes, but imagine if you had to pause between every move. It adds an incredible amount of difficulty. And you can see it there, you've got to lock off. It's such a tenuous physical position. But he's on to the second to last of the black volumes. There's the last one. And then from there it is steep, steep, steep. So Nicolas just at the point where the wall really begins to steepen. And he's on to the first of the huge yellow volumes. And the hole he's hunting for, you can just see it, there it is, that's the angle. It's that black volume round to the right. And then from there above it, just out of shot, some small green scroll. And so ones he's just reached for. Just zoom out a wee bit there, Mr. Cameraman, thank you. The best way to do this, that's it, is to get the heel up. But no matter how you do it, no matter what the method used, it's incredibly physical. And you can see him hunting for that hold. Incredible endurance required to hang on this long. Especially between moves. You can see he's beginning to grimace with the effort, but going really well. He's coming up for halfway along the very steepest section of the wall. He's got to reach right over his head. There is a huge hold there, but you've got to find it. And even if you find it, it's immensely physical to reach over your head like that and kind of lower yourself onto what would have been his right arm. So Nicolas Moineau, we lose around mid-height on this Briançon competition wall. Bit of a discussion going on with his sight guide.
Compétition dans cette catégorie, hein, parce que Nico Moineau, il va être opposé à l'incroyable espagnol Francesco Rariel, qu'on va voir arriver dans un instant. Et lui, terriblement aussi fort. Et puis, alors, je ne vous parle pas de Matteo Stefani, les trois se tirent la bourre tout au long de l'année. Et on a la chance pour eux, il n'y a pas, le japonais qui est une vraie légende. Applaudissements encore une fois pour Nico, champion du monde. Et évidemment, lui, allez, coup sûr, représentera la France grâce à son podium au championnat du monde à Innsbruck. Il essaiera de repasser devant le japonais. Si vous avez d'ailleurs l'occasion d'y aller mi-septembre à Innsbruck, le japonais c'est à voir parce que lui il travaille sans la radio, donc on entend tout, c'est un gros spectacle.
We're just about to have a substitution in the commentary box, and Francisco Xavier Aguilar Amoedo is about to climb. Welcome to the commentary box. What's your name? Where'd you come from?
I'm Richard Slowcock and I'm from Team GB.
Richard, thank you very much for joining me. We've just seen first climber out. It's the first time I've actually been at a paraclimbing competition, although I've seen videos and highlights from since Bercy in 2016. Mind-blowing to watch visually impaired climbers on the wall this steep and a route this hard.
It is phenomenal. It's been a phenomenal experience here. This is my first World Cup as well, and it's eerily quiet as obviously we're using radio comms to communicate between, and it's almost too quiet. It's quite scary when you're up there and you can't hear anything.
How have you enjoyed the World Cup experience?
It's been brilliant. Yeah, it's been a really good day. Really enjoyed it. The climbs have been fantastic. Really good experience.
Which of the 3B categories do you compete in? You have to remind me.
I was competing in B2 today.
Okay. So we're currently watching B1. We've got B2 coming up. And yeah, the climbers we're watching now, B1, this means no sight.
This is no sight, so or very little sight, and then it's you're blindfolded to make up for the fact level playing field across.
And what was the standout kind of memory or the biggest surprise for you from competing in a World Cup?
I think it was just the atmosphere has been fantastic. Having not done anything here before, very friendly atmosphere, really well organised, fantastic day. And it's just run so smoothly. It's been absolutely brilliant from my perspective.
So this is Francisco on the lower section of the route. Can you give us, as we watch him climb, can you try and give us some idea of how the sight guide will be explaining the route to him?
So there's a couple of different ways that can be done. Jesse will probably be able to explain it a bit more from a completely blindfolded perspective, but it's all to do with, you can either use the clock face, so move your hand up to 1 o'clock, about a foot, 2 foot, left foot up, right foot up. It can get very confusing at times, and being on the receiving end, it's quite difficult. Sometimes you move the wrong foot or you move the wrong hand, especially when you're under pressure as well.
And is there a universally, I guess, accepted way of doing it, or do you just figure out over time?
I don't think there's any courses. There's no real way of learning how to do it other than learning on the fly. So Robin O'Leary's our sight guide, and he basically has learnt his trade by picking it up with the team. And
do most of the athletes have a slightly different method that or like a way they like it done, or do you try and standardise things partly for Robin's benefit?
I think it really depends on who's doing the sight guiding and who's being sight guided, but I know a lot of the guys use the clock face. I just prefer right hand up, right a bit, left a bit.
Well, whatever's Francisco's getting told, it's working well from here. We saw Nicolas Moineau, not on this yellow volume, but the one further up again, but these green crimps, the ones you may recognise that we saw Nicolas on, and then he's on a series of just crimps. He's off the yellow volumes altogether and then back onto them, and it was the move back onto the second one that stopped Nicolas.
See, it's quite upsetting because I can't actually watch it in great detail. I was taking some pictures with a telephoto lens earlier, and it's probably the best view I've had of any of the climbing today.
So he's just reset himself. I'm still not entirely sure how he's still on the wall. Fantastic fight.
You know, the guys that do the blindfolding spend a lot of time hanging on the wall because of the uncertainty around doing certain moves. So they do a lot of training on picking a specific hold and hanging there for as long as they possibly can, and because you just never know what's going to happen. It's a lot of it involves flailing a hand around trying to find the next hold, and if it does take that extra few seconds, you need to have that grip.
The level of endurance is just mind-blowing though.
On this 50-degree angle, yeah, you're not kidding.
And it's the same move where we lost Nicolas. Francisco lowers down. It's that move you got to reach. I'm trying to describe it now. I'm putting myself in Robin's shoes, describing the move. You got to reach over your head on a 55-degree board and then kind of drop onto the hand you've just reached over your head with.
Yeah, I don't envy his job.
Easier to be the climber in a way.
It is, yeah. You've got someone to blame as well.
Exactly. Perfect. I'm sure you'd never do that.
Not to his face.
No, of course, no. Just when you get on the text later.
Exactly.
Never guess what Robin said. So third and final climber about to make his way out, Matteo Stefano, the 25-year-old from Italy. This is men's B1, live here in Briançon. You can see a small segment of the crowd here in Briançon. And Matteo, a real character of the scene. He's a great guy. We just see him duck down, just swapping his trainers for climbing shoes, giving the shoes a final polish, getting any dirt off. And you can see there the B layers from the PGHM, the Peloton Gendarmerie de Haute Montagne here in France. They're basically the police of the mountains, mountain rescue. They could do it all. Also provide belaying services for Paraclimbing World Cups. It's just being guided onto the first few holds. Before you get going on a route like this, I mean, how much of it are you able to memorize in the time you've had? And I mean,
it's not as easy as you'd hope. You just got to really think about. So Robin will go through it a couple of times, take your hands and try and move them into the right positions. And if once you've done it 2 or 3 times, you can get at least the first few moves down. But once you're up there, your mind goes blank anyway. To be fair, you're just following what you're told.
I suppose part of the problem as well is that on the ground, your sight guide's also guessing the distance.
Yeah.
They're sort of well, the hole looks like it's kind of half bent arm distance away, but it might be that bit further. It's
and it's always the understanding of is it a good crimp, is it a bad crimp, is it a jug, or is it just a sloper? You know, you never know what's around the corner really.
And the amount of different holds we have in modern climbing, it's not always immediately apparent. Again, silence here in Briançon. Sight guides need to do their things. Matteo Stefani is climbing. It's been the same move where we lost Francisco and Nicolas, previous 2 climbers. Beautiful pink sky setting.
Definitely one of the most beautiful settings I've ever seen.
Are you hanging around for a few days?
No, fortunately not. I think we're climbing tomorrow. Team climb, bit of an unwind, and then we're heading back.
So now, Matteo, I think this has certainly been the quickest we've seen anyone get to the very steepest section of the wall. So what he needs to do now is get from where he is and then get a right hand up onto that black triangular volume on the yellow volume and then turn that into a heel hook, and then we'll go from there. You can see Robin mentioned it earlier, we've got 2 ropes used for B-lane. That's basically to prevent any big swings, because obviously if you're top roping on a wall this overhanging, there would be potential to travel quite a long way if you fell off low down. So we do use 2 ropes, 2 B-layers. And Matteo going pretty well, as I say, comfortably the quickest climb we've seen so far on the route. Very quickly gets the heel hook in place. Chooses to chalk up, and he'll be onto a series of small crimps now, and he looked as if he almost found the left one first time. There it is. Opts to take a brief shake out, goes through the right. Now this is the move that stopped the previous 2 climbers, and he's latched it. Different method used. Went with the left hand, looked much more comfortable than the previous attempts, so this is enough for Matteo. He's going to win, and he's on to the huge second volume, and once he gets off this, it really is the very last few moves of the steepest section of the wall here in Briançon. You can see all the bolt-ons on the side of that volume. It's about to be another win. Team GB have had something of a monopoly on the wins so far tonight. Italy are going to get one. Germany have had one. 11 countries represented here in Briançon, over 55 athletes. And Matteo Stefani is absolutely crushing this men's final route in B1. This is, if you're just tuning in, athletes entirely without sight. And he is a move or 2 away from being clear off the steepest section of the wall. It's still overhanging at the top, but nothing like as steep as what's preceded it. And he looks in complete control here. This is cruise mode, it would seem. Well onto the head wall. He's climbed incredibly quickly as well. So it's quite a committing slap, you would imagine, here with the left hand. Hard to see how it would be done without completely committing. Here it comes. He manages to do it almost statically. And you can see there the top beckons. Just needs to find something to do with the feet. He's got to cross through with the left hand, and we lose him just entering that very last yellow volume. Amazing performance.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Very close to topping the route. Several categories will be sharing this route in the middle of the Briançon wall. So Italy pick up a World Cup win. Great Britain have picked up 3. Germany have picked up 1. Now Italy have picked up 1. We've got 10 categories here in Briançon. Still a lot of action to come. We're only halfway through. This is fantastic. We've got a lot to come, and you can see there as the last rays of light disappear over Briançon and night falls and the atmosphere increases. Out next, Matteo as well. He might celebrate. Briançon's probably not the place I would choose to go for a big party, but maybe tonight. Okay, thank you so much for your time. It's fascinating for us. I said it to Robin. we can watch paraclimbing, I read about it, I prepare to do this, but to get insight from someone who's, well, now a World Cup competitor is fantastic. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. And will we see you in Innsbruck?
Definitely. I'll see you there.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully I'll be in the final next time.
Oh, you'll be in the final, don't worry. That's all you've got to beat. You've seen it.
Thanks very much.
And another substitution in the commentary box. Welcome. What's your name? Where'd you come from?
I'm Jesse Dufton, climbing Loughborough at the climbing station.
Big shout out to the climbing station in Loughborough.
Yep, definitely.
And you competed earlier on today?
Yeah, I was in B1, so I was in the category that's just finished. Unfortunately, obviously, I've not made it through to the finals, but hey, first competition, so you know, don't beat myself up too much over it.
And what was it like competing in a World Cup?
Yeah, no, it was a good experience. Hey, it's a steep wall, hey?
Yeah. Are you happy with your performance? Disappointed?
Yeah, so-so. Not a complete disaster, but obviously I didn't make the final, so not really what I wanted. So
we've got the first climber out on the wall. It's Florent Alan Anna of Romania. So this is B2.
Mm-hmm.
This is what Robin O'Leary described. John Churchill described via Robin O'Leary as looking through a straw with cotton wool at the end. So it's described as 5% vision or less. Again, the crowd silent here in Briançon. The sight guides doing their thing. We've got a big crowd now here. Conditions a lot better than when you climbed earlier.
yeah, it was pretty warm earlier. Fortunately, we weren't in the sun for our second route, so that was all good.
And how did the route setting compare to what you get at home? I suppose you don't get specialist route setting in Loughborough?
So Loughborough's mostly a bouldering wall, so obviously no routes, but obviously for the route stuff we usually head up to Awesome Walls. In Sheffield, that's our kind of nearest big lead wall. So yeah, obviously the route setting there is excellent, so yeah, good route setting here as well.
Are you able to access visually impaired routes?
No, so fortunately my fiancée can act as my sight guide, which is very useful. So I'm in B1, so I'll be down at the climbing station or at Awesome Walls with a blindfold on completely. Yeah. So when people see me leading up something with a blindfold on, they're like, "What the hell's going on?" So, yeah.
God, man, I can't imagine the arguments with your fiancée being a sight guide. You must have a strong relationship.
I just do what I'm told. I'm always a good boy.
It's a wise policy.
Yeah. Oh.
As we lose Florent Anna just at the change of angle, he was just pulling onto the very steepest section of the wall here in Briançon. Giulio Ciavanini of Italy will be next out, and then his compatriot Simone Salvagnin. That might be a slightly disappointing result. He's just getting stuck into the meat of it. We were talking, Robin and I earlier on, and just saying what people possibly underestimate or don't think of initially is when they watch visually impaired climbing is that you basically have to lock off every move.
Yep. Endurance, like loads of time on the circuit board or on the campus board, just up and down, get that endurance up, because you've got to hang there for so long. Like, you know, you'll reach for a hold and you won't hit it first time. Often I call it like window wiping. So if the hold's here, you'll go all the way around it, and so you're hanging there going, where is it?
So is the focus of your training much more endurance based than a lot of the other climbers?
I think so. Yeah. Oh, you just need it. Like, you need your endurance to be at a much higher level compared to your average climbing level, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
And this is. I mean, we're getting a bit technical here, but this isn't so much power endurance, I guess. It's kind of pure endurance.
Pure endurance. The ability to lock off is really quite important, because obviously you reach up and you won't necessarily hit the hole first time. You you won't be in a nice position where your arm is straight and you've got most of the mechanical advantage. You might be locked off on a bent arm, which is really quite a stressful position to hold, and you've got to reach and find the other hold, and then you can latch that.
So it's not always a nice clean lock off, and the
No.
hold's exactly what you want.
No, and the worst thing is you'll reach up and lock off and realise that the hold is just out of reach, and you've got to then pull that extra inch so that you can, reach the hold. So yeah, it's a challenge to be sure.
And did you train your fiancée up as a sight guide? Or did she volunteer?
She was kind of strong-armed into it. So my sight's degenerative, so she's kind of grown into the role as my sight's got worse. So I was born with about 20%, and we're down to like 2% now. So yeah, as it's kind of gradually got worse, she's started from pointing out like kind of the obvious features, or up to your right, to more specific instructions about where to move hands and feet.
And who got into climbing first?
Independently. So
did you meet through climbing?
Yeah, so we
fantastic.
met in the University of Bath Mountaineering Club.
Okay.
So a long time ago now.
It's alright, we won't ask how long. Some time ago.
And then we both, went out climbing through there, and yeah.
It's gone from there.
It's gone from there, yeah.
So many puns about relationships, scaling new heights, and breaking new ground. We won't go there.
Last year we went to Greenland, and popped the question on top of a first ascent, so that was a good one.
Congratulations.
So yeah.
Congratulations. Oh, you cynics out there who think these World Cups are just cut-through competition and we get a nice story of romance. I'm just going to slightly adjust your microphone, actually, if you don't mind. It's
Absolutely.
Okay, just sit there. There we go. So Giulio Cevanini of Italy is climbing next. This is men's B2. This is 5% vision or less. So when you started your competition climbing career, did you enter at B2? Have you always been a B1 competitor?
I've always been a B1. Didn't know where I was going to place, because someone asked me what percentage of vision have you got, and I've got no idea. Like, I've never seen normally, so how am I supposed to answer that question?
It's quite a hard thing to quantify anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm not a medical expert.
I can see whether it's light or dark, and that's it. I can't see any detail. So yeah.
So this, as I say, this is B2. This is 5% or less vision. This is the 25-year-old Giulio Cevanini, his compatriot in B1. I'll come back to in a second. Matteo Stefani very nearly topped this route. And again, silence descends on the venue. The wind is really picking up here in Briançon. Flags around the venue and various tarpaulins trying to keep different bits of the venue shaded or dry, beginning to flap around. Conditions pretty good for climbing right now. The wall retains a bit of heat. It is of course a scaffold structure behind the wall, so it retains heat, then comes through the wall, but conditions pretty good. And we weren't too far off seeing a top of this route. It'd be nice to see one. Three climbers in this men's B2 final. I've already seen Florent Anna of Romania. This is Giulio Cevanini and Simone Salvagna of also of Italy coming out next. We lost Florent just at the change of angle, which is another couple of meters above Giulio. He's got a bit of a committed move to make here, and this is exactly, I think, what you were talking about, where you lock off, try and reach the hold, and realise with crushing disappointment that it's just that bit
it's just out of reach. Oh no. Yeah, there's few worse feelings when you reach, your fingers touch the bottom of the hold, and you realise you've got to summon all your strength to hoik up that extra inch or two.
You know what, man? I think that happens to all climbers.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, I can reach that, or I can clip that, and you try and anyway. It's
It's one of the
nice feeling.
Yeah, when your arms are burning and you're doing your best just to stay there, and you realise you've got to get up a bit more.
Julio going well here. This is enough for him to take the lead from Anna, who's already been. Reaching through that right hand, he'll turn this into a heel hook, hopefully, with the right heel. Could perhaps take advantage of a rest here, but I think he's just going to carry on straight through. As a partially sighted climber, do you tend to try to avoid resting, just to use all your energy just to keep moving?
No, any rest would be lovely. No, you'll definitely take the rest when you can get them, because you're on the wall for much longer. You know, any little shakeout you can get, you'll take it. Absolutely. I think you get good at finding the rests when they come. Yeah, definitely.
Julio just struggling. You can hear him. Might be able to hear him through our microphones. He's a good 20 meters away from us, but he's giving this route the full treatment. He's going absolutely full bore, and he's in an early lead. He's going to be at least second, but he drops back down to where that big black volume where he was heel hooking earlier on, and he's trying to manufacture something of a rest. You can hear him talking to himself. There's only us and him talking in the venue, otherwise it's complete silence. I assume he's talking to himself and not falling out with his sight guide.
He may well be having a discussion with the sight guide, because the worst thing is when the sight guide have read the route one way and you get there and you're like, no way can I do it like that, I can't move that hand, that's got all my weight on it. So
and we lose him off that black volume, so he went further than that and then came back, tried to manufacture a rest and have a bit of a rethink. The sight guide helps him down, and they share a hug. So if it was a word for her on the wall, it was obviously nothing too serious.
Nothing too serious, no.
Well, he's done enough to take the lead. Patrick Matteo Stefani in the previous category, B1, has set the high point on this route so far, but in terms of men's B2, that's enough for Giulio Cervanini to take the lead. Apologies if you just heard a moped or possibly a strimmer behind us. And there you can see the crowd in Briançon. Temperature beginning to drop now. Still just about t-shirt weather for the more hardy amongst us. And we've got one more climber in Simone Salvagnan. Third climber of 3 out.
So at the moment, I can't speak for anyone else, but if it's me, I'll be thinking about what my sight guide has told me and trying to remember the crux moves. You don't remember everything, but you'll have had the route described to you previously, and if there are any moves that are difficult to describe quickly, so if you're reaching through with one hand past the other hand, for example, or if you have to hold a hold and then in a certain position so that you can leave room to match with your other hand, those are the sorts of things that he'll be thinking about as he gets to the bottom of the climb.
So is there an element of tactics in the route reading also, because you're thinking, will the route reader say, look, I can talk you through this bit, don't worry, but then you'll get here and this is the bit I want you to remember?
That's the way I work it. I can't have, I don't remember it all. So if it's just left, right with your hands, I won't remember that. I'll try and focus my memory on the bits that are more involved, so where you need to go with your left hand, then bump again, rather than moving your right hand initially, or whether you might need to, I don't know, pull down on a hold, and then once you've got once you've got up, turn your hand underneath to get an undercut on the same hold, something like that, which is a bit out of the ordinary. Those are the bits that you really need to remember.
So he's underway, Simone. Very distinctive dreadlocks. We've just seen him finish his final discussion with his sight guide. I'm still getting over the fact you're engaged to your sight guide.
Yeah, it's all right. She doesn't sight guide me in the competitions, so
No, you got
the pressure. The pressure is off. I think she's most relieved about that, to be honest.
We'll keep an eye on Simone as well. I have to ask as well, you were new routing in Greenland.
Yep. So most people think I'm mental because of that. So I came from trad climbing to competitions. So I think my head is better than my campus strength at the moment. But it's certainly all the gym work is certainly paying off. Went and led Bond Street and Millstone a couple of weeks ago, and it felt much easier than last time I did it. So that was all good.
That's not that easy.
HVS.
It's not an easy route at all. God.
That's something like that where you can place some cams. That's the best thing because you can like feel the lobes and check that they're placed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say, and this is more a reflection on me, I didn't think you'd be into drag climbing.
Most people don't. It's a weird obsession of mine. So.
I need to get back to Millstone.
What, are you suffering a surplus of skin?
Yeah, exactly. I just hate my skin so much. Need to get rid of some.
Yeah.
So Simone's just finding his way onto that black volume, which is also where the heel hook lives. If he can find a way of manoeuvring himself, he's in an incredibly powerful position now. He's not really got his feet on anything. And he's going to have to somehow free a hand or get that right hand off where it currently is to make room for his heel hook. And he's done well to land his left hand. Again, just dabbling around. He'll try and slap up with the right. It's a big committing move, this. And we lose him heading up to that hold. Well, it will depend, I think, on how the holds have been numbered, exactly who took that one, because both climbers fell around that section of 3 green holds, so there'd be some element of judgment about which one was the highest one or the furthest one. He acknowledges the crowd, and again, quick discussion with his sight guide. And out next, absolutely bang on schedule, 21:55. We're going to have 2 events running concurrently, men's RP2 and men's AL2. So that is visually impaired categories done. We've had our 3.
All done.
I'm ready for more.
You'll just have to wait until September.
And Innsbruck World Championships looming. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, really good.
Big source of motivation?
Yeah, definitely. So still kind of in the ramping up phase of my training. It's definitely paying dividends. I can notice a massive improvement here compared to where I was 8 weeks ago at the beginning of my program. So yeah, in another 6 weeks, hopefully I'll be a bit better and break into the finals.
And you're injury free, you can give the next 6 weeks everything you got?
A few little niggles on the fingers, got a nice little nodule. So
that's part of the deal.
Yeah, just getting over a flexor tendon. That's 95%. So yeah, feeling good at the moment. Just bit more time in the gym and on the walls.
And any specific goals for Innsbruck? I mean, I guess a final.
Make the finals.
How ambitious are you feeling? How ambitious? Excuse me.
Yeah, having the other climbers described to me, I don't think I'm a million miles away. So yeah, if I can keep injury free, keep on the training, I think I'd be in with a shout of making the finals. I think that would be a realistic place to be. Because the thing is that these guys have been training for years, and I've been training for 8 weeks. So
when you put it like that, yeah.
So yeah, we'll see how we can do. If I can make the finals, that's great. Obviously I'd love to make the finals this time, but I'm not disappointed with this. As my first competition, come out here, it's been a great experience, and to know where you sit relative to other people, because we're blind climbers, we're a rare bunch. It's difficult to know where you stack up, with your compatriots who are spread all over the world.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you, but we would dearly love to have you on the wall in Innsbruck.
Right, yes.
So get training.
I will.
No pressure.
Cool.
But thank you very much. And you told the most romantic story I've had on the live stream. The live stream, admittedly, not normally somewhere we get romantic stories, but even so, that's the best one.
Good. I'll have some brownie points in the bag with the missus then.
Yeah, show the replay. It'll be on YouTube. All right.
Cool.
Thanks for your time,
Cheers,
man.
boss.
Good luck for Innsbruck.
Thank you.
Du côté des prothèses et des grimpeurs, c'est impressionnant. Là, on s'imagine dans 50 ans, quand la cybernétique aura repris le dessus. Franchement, ils ont des appuis talons, ils ont les crochetages, ils ont tout ce qu'il faut. Waouh! Elle va être rock'n'roll, cette finale. Come on, the team from Germany.
Okay, so we're underway now with men's RP2, and on the right, men's AL2. So hopefully beginning to get your head around the categories more and more. RP is shorthand for limited range, power or stability, formerly known as neuro and physiological disabilities. So that's on the left, that's Philip Krozek. There he is, Team Germany. And then we've got men's AL2 running concurrently. So AL2 is level of impairment is one entire leg missing. We have had some merging of categories just as we lose Julien Gasque, the 36-year-old French climber. I was just about to say, we have had some merging of categories here in Briançon. That's just a case of numbers, and we also lose Philip Krozek in men's RP2. We'll talk more about categories in just a second.
Next competitor to the left, representing Israël. On a d'excellents grimpeurs en Israël. On pense à Pascal Berkovic, elle est là. Elle a amputé des 2 jambes. Les Françaises mariées à l'entraîneur.
So another substitution in the commentary box. Guest number 4. Josh Senior, welcome.
Thanks very much.
Have you enjoyed the finals so far in Briançon?
It's been an amazing finals. The climbing's been spectacular, and the routes are awesome, and it's got a really good atmosphere at the place. It's been a lot of fun.
And have you enjoyed your World Cup experience?
Yeah, it's been good. I'm gutted not to be in the finals. Little mistakes go a long way in this kind of comp, so lots to learn from, lots to work from. But it's been a really good experience.
Yeah, I saw you climbing a bit in qualifying for people that didn't get to see it. How did you go?
I was well into the 50-degree bit of the wall on both routes, but dodgy footing in one and just missed a handhold in the other and couldn't quite recover.
And we're currently watching men's AL2.
Yep.
Which is your category.
It is indeed, yes. So I'm a lower limb amputee. For me, I'm a below knee amputee, so AL2 covers anyone who's missing one leg, whether that's above knee or below knee.
Okay. I was saying in some of the categories we have had a merging of the categories.
Yep.
Here in Briançon, that's just because of numbers.
Yeah.
But this is a extremely competitive category you're in.
It's a really fierce category. There's some incredibly strong climbers. Yeah, really strong. Sort of real fierce competition.
Michael Sapir of Israel is climbing on the left, men's RP2. Albert Guardia Ferrer on underway or about to be underway in men's AL2. Got his compatriot Urko coming out next, one of the best known paraclimbers out there.
He is an absolute inspiration, Urko. Incredible climber.
Entirely missing one leg and climbed 8A in,
Yeah, I believe so.
2010, 11, something around then?
Yeah, around then. Absolutely unreal.
This is Albert Guardia Ferrer, as I mentioned. And more Michael Sapir on the left. Been a good day for Team GB as well.
Yeah,
he won
done
the
really
first
well.
three.
Got the first 3 medals. Still got a couple of competitors to come out. So you've still got Dave Bowes in the RP3 category. And Joe Waterton, who's a below knee amputee as well, but he was merged with another category due to numbers. So should be exciting to see them come out. We're doing well.
Yeah, Dave climbing well right now.
Yeah, he's been nursing a few injuries.
Well, he's getting old, you know.
I'll let you tell him that. Yeah, but he's been nursing a few injuries, but he's coming back strong. He's had a couple of ops on his shoulder and he's been rehabbing hard, but he's looking strong today. He's climbed well.
Also climbing well, more Michael Sapir. This is Israel. I mentioned it earlier, these routes are shared between several categories. But as I said with Robin O'Reilly, it's not really the same route, is it? If you have an RP climber climbing it when you've had a visually impaired climber, the whole way it climbs, the whole method of climbing it is different.
Yeah, everything about it is different. I think the route setters do an incredible job on the whole of creating routes that work for different categories, that they can visualise. I don't know if that's the best word to use. They can visualise how you would climb it as a blind person and how you would climb a route as an amputee, and generally do a good job of getting that balance right so people can tackle it in their own styles and their own ways.
We lose more Michael Sapir and then we lose Albert Guardia Ferrer.
Totally wrapped in the rope at the end.
Yeah, if you are just joining us for a start, watch the replay from the start because you missed some good action. But also, we have got the 2 ropes in use here and 2 belays. It's to prevent any huge swings off the rope. More Michael Sapir looks like he enjoyed himself. I think slightly frustrated he couldn't have made a little more of a dent in the route. Out next we have got Urko on the men's AL2. I remember being at the Arco Festival in 2014 and he won the Rock Legends Award.
Yeah, well deserved.
Yeah, I think it was him and Adam Ondra sharing it.
2 incredible names and 2 incredible climbers.
Thierry Delarue, the 4th climber out in that men's AL2. Bastien Thomas of France is just about to make his way out onto the stage. Just looking across for him. He's underway.
Yeah, he's off.
Here comes Urko. As we mentioned, a legend of the sport, and there in the background is Bastien. Must be fantastic for you to compete amongst these guys.
Yeah, I first came across Urko, the legend that is, while I was in hospital after my initial injuries. So flat on my back with a spinal injury and a dodgy ankle, and that was when he was climbing his AA routes and stuff. It's like, this is unreal what people could achieve.
Were you a climber before?
Yeah, not as in a competitive sense. I did like my SPA and instructed for a while, but it was always more of a chilled out days on crags, trad climbing than a big competitions and flashing lights type climbing. So this is a whole new world to me. Second year on the season and loving it. It's amazing.
Sebastian Thomas, you can see him there. He's climbing on the left in the white helmet. Urko, as you would expect, not having too many problems with the lower section in his men's route on the right hand side of the competition wall here in Briançon. Now completely dark, we can't see anything but the vaguest outline of the mountains and the odd light dotting the hillsides. It's the most spectacular setting.
It is really extraordinary.
And we've got this evening, and we've got of course a full lead World Cup coming up on Friday and Saturday. One of the best IFSC venues we come to. And fantastic to see a Paraclimbing World Cup on the live stream. Bastian really got his work cut out here. He's got himself into a pretty powerful position. It's one thing to get there, it's another thing to stay there. Benham Kalaji will be out next. Let's have a look what Urko can do.
Moving into that 50-degree section. It's just fierce. So fierce, that bit of wall.
Yeah, I mean, I went up there on the cherry picker lift. It looked pretty steep. How does it feel when you're on it?
It feels like an all-out roof climb.
Really?
Yeah, it's unreal. Just. But it's a whole lot of fun. Whole lot of fun.
Yeah, you can see how much strength required from Urko. Makes a move like this where you can't get anything out at all from the right. It's obviously you can't get a lot out of that left foot, but you've got nothing to push off. He just transforms every move, but he's so clever in the way he swings left and right.
Yeah. His ability to position his body is just unreal. The contortion that he'll put himself through to be able to make a hold and to make a move is just unreal.
I think one thing I really notice with him is how many movements he makes. So instead of doing every move super powerfully, he'll swing left and right to do kind of micro moves, it would seem. But it makes every move easier.
Loads of little adjustments, loads of playing around with his position to get it just absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
So that he can then do a controlled move to the next hold.
Because I guess what you're trying to resist competing in this category is just kind of yarding up.
Yeah. It's too easy, for want of a better term, to just find yourself trying to haul yourself up. You know, the legs aren't your strong suit. They're not your best feature, so you know.
We lose Urko coming out right on. It would have been the last triangle of volume on that right-hand side of the wall. I think he had a bit of juice left as well. I'm watching him low down.
Like
he's not breathing super heavily, and he's ended up just on the edge of the stage. Manages to find his way back on as Benham Kalaji underway for Team Iran. Urko gets a big round of applause. Yeah, I think he had a bit left in the arms.
Well deserved, but.
Thierry Delarue of France will be the last climber out, the 40-year-old.
He was looking really strong in qualifiers.
He was.
He climbed really well. It's unreal.
You guys had pretty tough conditions for the qualifiers earlier.
It was hot. It was hot. I think someone told me it was 32 degrees when I was climbing.
Robin reckons 34.
34, wow.
Yeah, it was savage.
It was sweaty.
Benham Kalaji is climbing here, men's RP2. And we mentioned him, Thierry Delarue is looking very, very good in the qualifiers earlier on. Charlie Bosco and Josh Senior here in Briançon. Beautiful, warm summer's evening. They get 300 days of sunshine a year, and here in Briançon we always seem to hit the 65 rainy days, but not this year.
Right, absolutely beautiful.
Benham Kalaji. You could get some idea from looking at his chalk bag, the angle of what he's currently on. I mean, it is.
That is crazy. Couldn't be further away from his body, could it?
And I love it, getting the crowd behind him. and climbing really, really well here.
Looking so smooth.
Looking super strong. Ditto Thierry.
Oh, he's flying up.
Yeah, flying through that lower section. And again here you can see the slight discrepancies within the space of one category. He's got a prosthetic leg with a rock shoe on the bottom. We'll keep an eye for now on Behnam Kalaji, because he's climbing extremely well. He's getting plenty of encouragement for the crowd. I think he needs it. I think fatigue just beginning to kick in. Looks like he could do with a shakeout.
Starting to look tired, isn't he?
Well, it's a big
Hard
move.
to blame him.
It's a big move up from here.
A lot of power.
Is he going to try and drop that right knee and launch? That's what he wants to do, but you can see he's just beginning to really feel it in the forearms. Brilliant burn from him. And he doesn't look happy with himself. I wonder if he feels there was another way of doing that move, or perhaps a better position he could have found himself in. But we'll focus now on Thierry Delarue. I was just saying, he's got a prosthetic limb. It is... You could debate advantages, disadvantages, how much use it actually is.
And
but
it does get debated a lot.
Yeah, of course, but you can see the slight discrepancy within the space of one category between him and Urko, for example, who we've just seen.
Yeah, suddenly you've got a very different climbing style. You've got something that you can use. You're not getting the right kind of sensory feedback for it, but you can, you do still have something that you can place a right, left foot, in his case, on. And yeah, it certainly leads to a different climbing style.
But I suppose he would then argue that moves like this, where it's just hanging, it's weight that
Yeah,
Urko isn't carrying. So
I don't know if you've ever picked one of these things up, but they aren't light. And you think what a difference adding 2-3 kilos to a hangboard session can make. Suddenly that's swinging around underneath you.
So Thierry Delarue is approaching the change in angle.
Yeah, well, little rest, little shake out.
Yeah, looking very composed.
Comfortable enough to chalk up. He's doing all right.
He's got a lot of moves still to go, though. It's what you can't see above, just out of shot, is just how many holds there are still up there.
Yeah, come on. Oh, come on!
Amazing, committed move. Thierry Delarue.
Unreal.
He's making his way onto the head wall here in Briançon. How much has that move taken out of him?
It's got to be fatiguing.
He gave that one
come
everything, but he'll get a slight let up now, because he can get his foot as close as he has done for a while to directly underneath him.
Yeah.
Obviously, the closer you can get your foot to being underneath you rather than out to the side, the more of a rest you're going to get. And he might have got something back. That was an amazing effort. Slaps out left. Are we going to see a top of this men's route on the right-hand side here in Briançon as we lose him on the first of the blue volumes? But he gets a massive round of applause, and well earned. That was full commitment.
Heroic effort. That was amazing.
Full commitment. We'll just confirm exactly what his score was. And second Iranian climber in a row, Amir Sabzi. And that round of applause you might be able to hear is for Thierry Delarue. Brilliant, brilliant climb from him.
Yeah, it's unreal.
It's high fives all round with the French team. And again, apologies, we're getting a bit of a slow response on our scores, so I can't confirm his score for you just yet. We know his result, we just don't know his score yet. Focus on Amir Sabzi. And we lose him on that midway through that steep section. Yeah, he was
up there fast, but maybe a little too fast.
Bastien Alas Halas of Austria will be climbing next. Yeah, Amir clearly went for the what Jan Hoyer calls the boulder on the lead wall tactic. just go for it, man.
Just all out power, get to there as fast as possible.
But he was flying.
Yeah, he was looking strong, comfortable.
And looks a bit frustrated.
Yeah. I'm not sure he saw it coming.
2 more climbers still to come, as I say. Bastian Halas of Austria, Alessio Cornamusini. And we're on to men's RP3, a man you know well, climbing first.
How's Dave up first?
Dave Bowes up first, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, strong looking category this year.
Yeah,
really
very strong RP3.
Yeah.
How much as a team, a para team, are you guys able to get together? I mean, how much do you get to train with Dave and the other members of the team?
I mean, it's less than we'd like because we're spread across the country and trying to find opportunities to get everyone together is just a bit of a battle. But we kind of, in the run-up to comp season, we aim to meet once a month. And yeah, it's always good. I feel that we're a pretty well and close-knit team on the whole. It's really nice. Kind of see each other enough that it feels like going away with mates when we get away to comps like this. So it's good. Oh, he's out.
There is Dave. I mean, the camera doesn't do him justice. Those shorts.
They're quite something, aren't they? Them shorts and the Mohican are such a winning combo.
I'm not sure how to describe kind of 80s Hawaiian.
Yeah,
I don't know,
yeah,
kind
no,
of lime
that's kind of
greeny.
Yeah, I mean, a lime green kind of pattern to them. They're pretty classic Dave. You know Dave, you wouldn't be at all surprised by the shorts, you know, it's that kind of guy.
This is Bastian Halas just slapping up. He was just approaching the really steep section of the wall. Just see him lowering down. Last climber coming up in that men's RP2, Alessio Cornamusini. And then we are on to women RP3. And we are nearly at the end. Oh.
Yeah, nearly.
Oh, disappointed.
Goes by too fast, doesn't it?
Enjoying my evening here in Briançon. So, let's watch Dave. Yeah, it's going well.
Looking comfortable so far. Moving fluidly.
If this name sounds familiar to regular IFSC viewers, Dave's been competing a long time. Also did a bit of commentating in Paris in 2016.
There you go. Turning into a bit of a veteran of the scene, isn't he?
Guy's age has been mentioned a few times today. just put it out there. I just love the fact he's like a year older than me. So. Alessandro Neri and Gregor Selak still to come in this RP3 category. Dave competes him.
Nice.
Alessio Cornamusini of Italy is out,
and
Dave.
Oh, clinging for dear life. Unreal.
Well, that's
can't believe he held that. Amazing.
That's where the training comes in.
Yeah.
He needs to just find an opportunity for a rest or somewhere to compose himself, Dave. He just had that slip. I think all climbers know that feeling where you think, oh God, I've got to find
I held this,
yeah.
but now I need to do something with my body to recover.
I've got to find a way to recover it somehow.
Yeah.
And he's still smiling, but no mistaking where he had his problem there. So Alessio, the final climber of 7 in men's RP2, ready to get underway. The wall in Briançon now fully floodlit.
Such a cool environment, quality.
Here is Alessio, 52 years old, going strong. Alessandro Neri, also of Italy. And I'm sorry to say it, slightly senior to Alessio.
Yeah.
He's 55 years old. Pulls onto the wall.
But again, watching him in qualies, he was climbing incredibly strong. Like, he's just strong, light, powerful bloke. And he moves incredibly well.
Yeah, keep an eye on him, bottom right of your screen, Alessandro Neri. We're focusing on Alessio Conamusini, or we were. He was on the left. He's got his work cut out here because he's got to get his feet back underneath him, and it was a slap through with the left hand where we lost him.
Oh, brutal.
So Alessandro Neri now we'll focus on. Climbing. No problems up to the roof.
Nice, looking comfy.
It's quite a big move, but he absolutely crushed it. You can see it's just pure strength. Crosses through, feet cut loose. This is the area where we lost Dave Bowes. He's climbing this really intelligently, crossing through with the left hand. Just beginning to pant a bit now. The fatigue etched on his face when we saw him look at the camera briefly. Goes out right now.
Still moving well though.
Still moving really well. If he can engineer some sort of a pause for himself, I think that would serve him pretty well.
Yep. Oh.
Just about holds it with the right hand.
Oh, it's turning into a bit of a fight, but he's looking good.
It's turning into an amazing battle. He seems to have got something back. A couple of moves ago, it seemed like the fatigue was really kicking in. But he definitely seems to have found a bit of juice from somewhere.
Yeah, he's looking quite relaxed again.
And these are such powerful moves. And big moves. Crimpy holds, tough lock-offs, you name it.
Yeah, it's got everything.
This is a big committed move out to the right. He didn't like that intermediate hold.
Move.
And tried not to use it.
Move without that intermediate hold.
Fantastic
He must
stuff.
have thought that was a really rubbish hold to not be worth using.
Yeah, he really didn't
go
want to
for
use
that big and committed a move rather than using it. He must have had a seriously good reason, because that was a big move. Oh, last GB climber of the night.
Certainly is. This is women's RP3. This is a merging of the categories though, isn't it?
Yeah, so she ought to be an AL2 category, same as myself, but there aren't enough women in that category, so they've been merged for this comp.
It's Joanna Newton. She's climbing, she's the first of 4 climbers in the RP3 final, but as we just said, there's a merging of categories. She would normally be climbing the amputee categories. Tiziana Paolini of Italy will be climbing 2nd, and Elodie Orbayan will be climbing 3rd, and Lucie Jarry of France climbing 4th.
She's fighting.
Yeah, it's
both arms locked.
It's such a
Finding
pumpy
power.
route.
Oh.
And they're such tiny holds that first section.
Yeah. Just got into that locked in position and just couldn't get any power out of it.
One of the biggest smiles of the evening. She's had a good time.
Oh,
it's great to see.
He loves it. He loves it.
Gregor Selak of Slovenia.
He cruised up the qualifying route.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how he does actually.
He looks so comfortable on it. This is going to be fascinating to watch.
It's a strong category, as you said earlier.
Oh, really strong.
As you'd expect, absolutely no trouble at all on the lower moves.
Cruising it so far. Just working through the volumes at the bottom.
In complete cruise control, as you would expect. We're just waiting for Tiziana Paolini of Italy to come out in women's RP3. She's just making her way up onto the stage.
She's up.
So we're into our final two categories. This is women's RP3 and men's RP3. Gregor, again, untroubled.
Moving into what's been a bit of a sticking point for others though, so
yeah, it's
be interesting to see how he plays it.
Yeah, it's a tricky section, this. Easy to get bunched up.
Yeah. Definitely.
Somehow got to use those footholds without getting stuck in amongst them.
Yeah. Looks like he's got it.
Yeah, all sorts of scope in that section for getting into positions that are comfortable to get into and hard
But
to get out of.
really hard to get out of, yeah.
But he's
completely got myself stuck. I can't make that next move.
Yeah, he's negotiated it nicely though.
Yeah, he looks very comfortable. Oh,
oh! And we lose him.
Wow.
Exiting the second of the
Golly.
two triangular volumes. So that is a World Cup win for Alessandro Neri.
Amazing. Good work from him.
55-year-old Italian.
Walks away with gold. Incredible.
That's a bit of a surprise. You mentioned it earlier. Gregor was looking.
He looked so comfortable.
Super strong.
I imagine he's going to be, a little gutted, I imagine.
So Alessandro Neri wins men MP3. RP3.
RP3.
Yeah, sorry. MP3. So we're on to women's RP3 exclusively. They're the only climbers still on the wall. And Tiziana Paolini has got a battle on her hands here. That's not a comfortable position to find yourself hanging around in. She needs to find some way.
Don't want to be there for long.
No, of getting out to the right or getting some weight off. Can she perhaps get a foot out wide?
It's going to be so exhausting. Oh.
And we lose her again on that lower section. It's
that bit is clearly tough, isn't it? Like a lot of people finding it really difficult to battle through that bit.
Yeah, I think on holds that small, the pump just comes so quickly.
Yeah.
You're just minding your own business and suddenly your forearms are on fire. I think we saw that there. Elodie Orbayan will be climbing next.
And it's so hard when you've got an isolation beforehand. Like you've got limited facilities to keep warm, keep your fingers fresh but not fatigue. It's so hard to keep that balance of being climb ready, especially for these guys at this end of the night, because they've been in isolation for the last, 4 hours? What's the time?
Yeah, I think longer
over
in
4
some
hours
cases.
in this case. So it's a long time to try and get that balance right of I'm warm, I'm fresh, I'm ready to climb, but I'm not knackered.
Where is the isolation here?
I think it's the little wall behind the comp wall. There's a little, I think they're behind there.
Right.
Yeah, there's a little bouldering wall set up behind the comp wall, sort of directly behind it. I'm pretty sure that's where ISO was for the second half.
So Elodie is ready to go. Second to last climber. We've seen both Joanna Newton and Tiziana Paolini just struggling to come off this initial steep section before the roof. Series of crimps where you can get tired very, very quickly.
So easy to burn out.
So what's Elodie got? This is women's RP3 if you're just joining us. Limited range power or stability. That's where RP originally came from. It's the third of four climbers. She's just got to negotiate her way through these black volumes. That one on the right is the one that we saw Tiziana Paolini aiming to stand on. But she's just got herself in an awkward position on this next crimp coming up. She was matching it and just couldn't quite find a way to get a hand free. Elodie looking very strong. This is quite a big move though up to this black
Yes, a long way.
arrow-shaped volume.
Come on.
It's lining it up. To be honest, from what we've seen from the last couple of competitors, you don't want to pause, just go for it.
Don't want to wait too long there. Just gets really fatiguing.
And you see she's going through the same thought process.
Yeah. How can I get into a better body position? How can I produce more power?
And again,
Brutal.
slaps up. Those moves proving the crux at this stage. She says, I'm not sure how you do that.
Yeah. When you get lowered down with a look of disbelief on your face, like, I haven't got a clue. What was I meant to do that I didn't do?
So Lucie Jarige of France will be the final climber out in front of her home crowd.
It's quite a crowd as well. I don't know if it's been picked up at all on the live stream, but the crowd's huge.
We saw them earlier on.
Big old gathering now.
Yeah, we saw a shot of them earlier on. It's definitely grown since then.
Yeah. It was kind of gradually built up all evening. It's great.
Well, I think people were sitting at home listening because I said what you should do is come and watch a full I said if you're in the area, come and watch the paraclimbing tonight.
Good work.
Watch the Tour de France tomorrow in Alpe d'Huez.
Yeah.
Come back over the Col de Lotterie for the Lead World Cup. There you go.
Yeah.
4 good days
full
of
week
spectating.
of sport.
Yeah, exactly. If you do that, make sure you don't drive over the Col de Lotterie. I went to Tour de France once and the traffic, well,
yeah, I can imagine.
would have been better just getting out of the car and sleeping next to the road, to put it that way.
Wow. This is final competitor, isn't it?
Yeah, final competitor
Final
of the
climber
evening.
of the evening, wow.
We've had 10 categories. Feels a long time ago. I'm just looking through my notes. Abby Robinson won the
she smashed it, didn't she?
women's boutique. Yeah.
Incredible bit of climbing.
And again, we mentioned earlier on, we've got a merging of amputee categories with RP categories here in what is being described on the programme as women's RP3. In reality, it is a merging of categories. So that's where we've got amputee athletes like Lucie Jarige of France, 28-year-old.
Very controlled and comfortable so far.
Yeah, all the climbers so far have in this category.
Up until this hold.
Yeah, it's moving from here that's proved the problem. They've all kind of matched it and then wondered about going up with the right hand and not quite find a way.
Oh, hello. Come on.
Oh no, are we about to see history repeating itself? Definitely a move where you want to just get it done, get going.
Yeah, don't hang around. Oh!
You can tell she's got power to burn. She's able to drop back down.
And on both of those little full starts, it looked like she's got the reach, but she's just not quite committing.
Yeah, she's tried a couple of different methods. Or she's looked at it, hasn't really tried them, she's kind of looked at a couple of different methods.
Not fully committed. But
and is still on the wall.
How has he held that? I have no idea.
That, folks, is why you train on a fingerboard. That drop down strength was incredible.
Absolutely remarkable. But all the time she's hanging here, she's just getting more and more fatigued. Oh, come on.
So here she goes, she's lining it up. I think this is the one, and she makes it work.
Crowd
really nicely done.
Very loud.
They know that move's been the stumbling block.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, she's got to reach around now to that big black volume. There it is.
Nice.
Got to get your hands on top of that, and then ideally, the next crux is turning that into a heel hook.
Got it.
Can she turn it into a heel hook?
She's got the crowd behind her.
She's got both hands on it. She's got the crowd behind her. And you can see what she's trying to do, but the problem is you can't get your heel on until you've cleared some space by getting rid of one of your hands, moving one of your hands out of the way.
Yeah.
She's just wrestling that volume.
Battled through that.
This is a brilliant effort. I think she's running on adrenaline.
Absolutely. Yes, come on. Oh, that's impressive.
Now bumps up the left hand again. She's going really well here.
Flying through.
That's a huge hold she's on there, but the problem is, because of what's preceded it, you can't really get much of a rest. And slaps up with the left hand, and so ends a fantastic battle.
What
Big
a
round of
great
applause.
fight. Fantastic.
From around the venue here in Briançon. Just watching Lucy Cherish make her way down the steps. Absolute commitment. Couple of times I couldn't quite believe she held it. Brilliant finish to what's been a wonderful evening here in Briançon. Well, there we have it. What an evening it's been here in Briançon. If you've enjoyed that, there's more paraclimbing coming at the Innsbruck World Championships. Excuse me. It's been a long night in September. Thank you very much to Josh Senior.
Thank you.
And everyone that's joined me in the commentary box. It's been a wonderful evening. We've got more coming, though. Friday evening, we'll see you for the lead semi-finals. Thank you for watching.